You're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff.
Give me a full ballerina skirt and a hint of saloon, and I'm on board.
I can't go back.
Welcome to the She Became Visible podcast. I'm your host, Renee Steelman. This podcast is my story. It's your story. It's our story. It's all the stories of all the women who one day knew that it was time to remember who they were, who they are, and stand up and be seen. Hello, welcome to She Became Visible. It is Sunday, February 9th, and many of you are probably planning a Super Bowl party, right? So many of you are in the kitchen right now and you're whipping up some buffalo wings and some dip and all kinds of things that you probably shouldn't be eating. And you're just looking forward to a great Sunday with friends and watching the football game and eating some yummy food. So you may not be interested in this video today, but guess what? Tomorrow is Monday. And what do we do on Mondays? We start over again, right? Isn't that the American way? We start over every single freaking Monday. But I wanted to share some things with you. One of the big things in the news right now is Bobby Kennedy and his drive to make our food better. And as I have mentioned before in some of my other podcasts, obviously we do have a problem here in the United States because there are a lot of foods that are allowed here that are not allowed and that have been banned in Europe and in some parts of Asia. And so we need to just kind of admit that maybe our Food and Drug Administration is not doing us the best that they could be doing. And we, again, have to take responsibility for our own health and our own nutrition. So what I want to share with you today is a fabulous guy that I don't know how these things pop up on my YouTube. Do you guys know how this works? I don't know. It's like mental telepathy or something. It's so weird. But I found this guy on YouTube yesterday. His name is Bobby Parrish. And you can find him. You can look under Bobby Parrish. You can look under Bobby Approved. And you will find all of his videos. And he has recently posted some videos of how to find the best food for your body in 2025. And he goes to Walmart, he goes to Sam's Club, he goes to Costco, he goes to Target. So he's not just looking around Whole Foods and Sprouts. He's looking at some of the places that we all shop already. And so I wanted to share his information with you today because I am so thrilled that I have found him. And what really made me happy was to discover that many of the foods that he approves are already in my kitchen. And because I have been looking at labels since the 80s. And so I've already made myself aware of how the Food and Drug Administration and all of these other high lobbyists treat our foods and how we get the information that the lobbyists want us to get. And I'm well aware of that. And I think I also have a really great gut instinct that goes, that just doesn't seem right. And I know I've mentioned this before, but do you remember in the 80s when Susan Powter came out with her anti-fat? And she said, you can eat anything as long as it doesn't have fat in it. And so I don't know if she started it, but in the 80s, that's when this low fat or no fat, you can eat whatever you want to as long as it doesn't have fat in it. And I can remember she was talking about going to the airport, she was traveling and she was eating all these carbs and she was eating candy as long as it didn't have fat in it. And I remember going to the movies with a girlfriend that had an entire purse full of candy that she thought she could eat because it didn't have fat in it. And what happened was the food companies jumped on that bandwagon. They took the fat out of food, but they added sugar and other ingredients to try to make this food palatable. And so this is what created the fat-free movement, which I think has been really instrumental in our obesity epidemic that we have right now. So a lot of times still low fat foods are villainized. And again, the important thing is you really have to look at labels. So I want to introduce you. My video today is to really introduce you to Bobby Parrish. So let me share with you one of his videos that I loved. I'm right here. One of the things that I want to bring out is there's been so much emphasis on not eating processed food. And I think what that has done, it has created chaos and misunderstanding in our community. And it has made people quit because we all have busy lives. And there aren't a lot of stay-at-home moms that spend their entire day doing nothing but preparing breakfast, preparing lunch, preparing dinner, cleaning up, buying the food, prepping the food, the whole bit. There's not a lot of us out there left anymore. And so when people start talking about processed food and how we need to avoid processed food, I think it brings anxiety and it makes people say, look, I can't do that. I don't have time for that. And so I'm just going to quit. And so they don't really understand the difference between ultra processed food and processed food. And the reality is we all have busy lives and we're going to go for the quickest thing. And so what he is doing is showing food that is shelf stable, it's packaged, it's been pre-prepared. I can't say that. And so it comes across as processed food, but what we're trying to avoid is the chemically made up food that is created in a lab that really isn't even real food. So one of the things he talks about is look at the ingredients. So if you turn this bag of wild rice over, it says the ingredients are water and wild rice. Ta-da. And so the fact that they have already cooked it and put it in a package and sealed it for us does not mean that it's a processed food that we need to avoid. And so I love that he's pointing these things out. So I wanted to make that really clear. The other thing that he goes on to say is that wild rice is actually a grass. And so it's really much better for us than, say, white rice, which when I am on a food program for one of my competitions, I've never eaten so much white rice in my life. I'm not a big rice person. I've never really eaten a lot of white rice. And so this has been kind of a new thing that's I've kind of struggled with because I just have a hard time thinking that this is really the best thing I could be eating. And so after watching Bobby's video, I found, oh, great, I'm going to replace my white rice with wild rice, which is a grass, which is a complex carb. And I'm going to feel a lot better about my food prep in that area. So let's go on. Heard the new scare out there that rice has arsenic in it. I don't know if any of you have heard that, but it kind of created a little bit of and when people started hearing that, but I do think that there's some truth to that. There are a lot of bad things in our soil now that are bleeding into our foods, and arsenic was one of the things that they pointed out. It's also been pointed out in Himalayan salt versus Celtic salt, and so it's one of those confusing things that sometimes the more we know, the worse it is. But it's just the reality of how our food is prepared and grown for us today. So let me go on.
I love this stuff. Be the normal price of $19.99. It's
Okay, so I wanted to point this out to you as well. He is talking here about oils. And I don't know, again, how many of you have heard that the problem is you think you're buying olive oil, but in reality, you're buying a mixed oil with maybe very little olive oil. They might have some vegetable oil and some cheaper oils in there. And I remember when I first heard this a couple of years ago, I was like, oh, crud. Now I have to start paying $99 a bottle for real olive oil. And so what he's pointing out is a great source of pure olive oil at Target. Lactose intolerant and have taken butter out of your food program. And what Bobby's explaining here is how ghee is how it's made and why if you are dairy intolerant, you can actually use ghee. So this is a little bit because he has the best tips. And this is one of my favorites. If any of you are really into probiotics, I just recently learned that a lot of probiotics are not effective because they don't get through the digestive system and they never get down into your colon. They kind of get absorbed into the stomach and it really doesn't go where it needs to go. And I remember thinking, oh crud. So all those supplements that are on the shelves, probiotics, yada yada, and you think you're really, helping your body by taking these supplements. And then you find out, no, it isn't. It's just another marketing thing. And so what he's pointing out is a very reasonably priced, fabulous probiotic that actually has been the way it's been made, it is going to get through that digestive system and into your colon. So I want to play that for you. I think you might find startling. Now, I don't eat chips just because that's not how I want to get my carbs, but I am familiar with the Siete brand. And I love that it's family owned and I love the origin story of it. And so he's saying that, and this would be really important for today. I mean, what he's introducing are products that could be eaten. You could have your chips and your salsa and your dips and whatnot, but they could be a healthy version. And the Siete brand is really branching out. They started out, I believe, with chips, but they have branched out a lot. And the biggest thing is they use avocado oil and they don't use seed oils. And that's really a healthy choice if you're going to do chips. So let me just play a little. So what he's really pointing out there is reading the labels and finding out what are the true ingredients. And so I think he does this a lot. And I think that's, if you don't get anything else out of this, you really would understand that you've got to read the labels. And that does not include the very front label that is usually on the front of foods, claiming that it's natural, claiming that it's organic. It still may have ingredients in it that you don't want to be ingesting. So let me fast forward. Oh, and by the way, I fast forward a little bit too fast. That probiotic that he was talking about is called Seed. So, and I'm going to buzz off to Target today and see if I can find it. So let me go on a little further. We'll get past the chips. And okay, what is he talking about here? Let me go back a little bit. I think the saddest thing is I know that I'm going to go to my Target and I'm not going to be able to find these products. But I love that he is showing us that you don't have to be eating carrots and steak. Probably not even carrots. If you jump into the whole keto thing, you're eating just meats and you're not eating any carbs. And it won't work. You're not going to stay there forever. At some point, you're going to want to go to a Super Bowl party and eat chips and dip. And so this is why people fail in their desire to eat healthy and become healthier, is because there's so many bad foods and misinformation out there. And the idea that you have to stop eating chips, stop eating chocolate. He even talks about a brand of M&Ms. They're not M&Ms, obviously, but that the coating does not have all of the bad ingredients to it. So there's something out there, but I don't know what Target he's in. I think he's on the East Coast. So I'm going to run to Target and see if I can find these things in my Target. I'm going to think I can't, but I'll let you know if I can. So let me see if there's anything else that he really talked about. I thought that was really fun. I used to have the Target app. Then I think, I don't know, I switched phones or something like that. And I had to download it again and enter a password. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So, but now because of what Bobby's recommending, I am going to download the app again and use it to find the things that are on sale that may not be published as being on sale. So the other thing that I think is important is he's really big into sugar. And as many of you know, they are now calling dementia diabetes 3. Because we here in America ingest way too much sugar. And the insulin issue is really disrupting our entire bodies and even into our brains. And so he's really big into sugar. So a lot of the organic product that I had in my refrigerator were like a spread, some kind of a jelly. And even though it said organic on it, he does not approve of that because of the second ingredient being cane sugar. So what I have gone back to is my good old agave, and it does the trick. You're just looking for something a little bit sweet on your toast in the morning, right? So let me play for you a video that I made about some of the things that I like to eat for breakfast.
This is
is one of my favorite snacks. I'll use this as an evening snack sometimes when you're really craving something creamy and you wish you could just go grab a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but you know you can't do that. So a lot of times I will use this for breakfast as well. So what I like to do is I will take my low-fat cottage cheese, and I just introduced Nancy's probiotic cottage cheese, low-fat, has 14 grams of protein in it, which I love. And I will do anywhere from 1/4 of a cup to 1/2 cup of cottage cheese, depending on how much I want to make. So I will add my cottage cheese. And then I add one of these containers. I know this isn't probably economically the best, but I like to buy the Fage yogurt in these little containers because then I don't have to measure. And so I'll take one of these. This has 80 calories and 16 grams of protein. So look, already I've got over 20 something grams of protein going on. Then both of these items, the cottage cheese and the yogurt, have a little bit of a sour. And I'm not a real sour person, but I don't want to add sugar. So what I do is I add my protein powder. Now this is another protein powder that is Bobby approved. It's called Just Ingredients, and I actually got this in Utah. I haven't been able to find it here in Arizona, but the ingredients are grass-fed, non-denatured whey protein, coconut milk, pea protein, grass-fed collagen, chia seed protein, vanilla extract, cinnamon, sea salt, stevia leaf, vanilla bean, and monk fruit. So this is Bobby approved, and this has, I'll use one scoop, mix that in, and because of the stevia and monk fruit in the protein powder, that gives me the sweetness for this. And this is egg-free, soy-free, and gluten-free. So I don't know if you can get this on Amazon. I just brought this back with me from Utah. So I mix that all together. And again, this gives the yogurt and the cottage cheese that sweetness that I want, especially if you're craving something sweet and creamy. You don't want something sour, right? And cottage cheese, especially Nancy's, is a little bit sour. And then I like to add about 1/2 cup of blueberries. And that way I can get my fruit in, and that also adds a little bit of sweetness. So this is really fun, and I know there might be some of you that are dairy-free, and I used to be a little bit more dairy-free, but I found in order for me to get my protein in, I was having a really hard time being protein-free and watching my calories. So there you go, one of my favorite treats. So another things I already had in my pantry, which I was so proud of myself for having, that are Bobby approved. Okay. So, so that was just an example of a little treat that I like to make. I have it almost every day. And so if you are trying to avoid dairy, maybe it causes bloating, or you're really, really lactose intolerant, Bobby will go through and has a lot of dairy-free recommendations. So there are other options. You could do that exact recipe using a dairy-free yogurt, and I don't know what you'd replace the cottage cheese. I don't know if they have dairy-free cottage cheese, but Bobby has a lot of recommendations. So basically what he is saying is, and you have to do this, he has an app that you download the app on your phone. And then when you go to the grocery store or anywhere, Target, Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, whatever, and you scan the barcode on the food, and it will tell you whether it's Bobby approved. That's all you need to know. He will go through and tell you why it's not Bobby approved. Maybe it has cane sugar in it, or a GMO product or something like that. But that to me is like easy. This has now made my shopping so easy. And so I'm going to use this on everything. And again, I was really pleased because a lot of the products that he recommends, I have been using for years. So I was really proud of that. Let me show you another video that I made about a little trick that I have for foods that I eat during the day.
So I wanted to share one of my breakfasts that I love. I'm kind of addicted. I actually got this from my mom clear back in the 60s when she was on Weight Watchers. She would make toast Then she would put some cottage cheese on it, sprinkle it with cinnamon and I don't know what else, probably not sugar. And I remember thinking at the time, ew, yuck. But then I remembered it and I thought, well, I'm going to try that. So I take the Dave's Killer Bread, put a little bit of cottage cheese on it, and I put on just a little bit of the agave, blue agave. All Bobby approved. And this is the way I have my toast in the morning. And I'm really, really addicted to it. So let me show you another favorite breakfast that I have using cottage cheese and the Fage low-fat yogurt.
Okay, and I showed you that already. So that's just something that I like to have. I have my Dave's Killer Bread in the morning. I don't eat oatmeal. I don't think that's really the best thing for us to be eating, which is really contrary to most bodybuilders, most fitness people. They are eating their oatmeal, but I choose to get my carbs through Dave's Killer Bread. I'll have to watch and see what Bobby thinks of oatmeal. That'll be very interesting. But anyway, so I just wanted to share that with you. Remember to, let me see. I don't know if I can show this to you, but let me see if I can find Bobby's. Okay, can you see that? Let's see if I can get it. Bobby approved. So you download the app, you scan a barcode, and he's done all the work. He's done all the research. One of the other things that he talks about is when you're looking for eggs, if you've got $4,000 you don't know what to do with and you're looking to buy a dozen eggs, he talks about the difference between cage-free, range-free, and pasture-fed chickens. And again, see, this is a trick that when I look at them, I see, oh, range-free, cage-free, that means they must be just, pecking away at the beautiful grass in some Nevada field or something. And the answer is no, they're not. They've never seen sunlight in their lives. And so you really want to look for pasture-fed eggs that come from pasture-fed chickens, because there you go. That's another trick. Anytime there's a trend, anytime there's new science out there about foods that we should be eating, marketing people are going to jump all over it and they're going to do whatever they can do, kind of like Cheerios, making you think that this is heart healthy, good for you because it has enriched this or that, and which is the worst thing ever. So you've got to stop trusting marketing and do your own investigation. But when you find people like Bobby Parrish, which I will put a link to him in this, he does all the work and you don't have to do it. So I hope that's been really helpful for you. Enjoy your Super Bowl parties. Rush out to Target right now and get some Siete chips and make your own dip with some avocados where you know what you're adding, and eat some great food, get some Bobby approved chocolate and make some deviled eggs with pasture fed chickens, and you can have your cake and eat it too. So that is the answer. So I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you have enjoyed this podcast. Please subscribe. Please, please, please subscribe and please share. I really want to grow my platform. So I would appreciate your help. Thank you so much for joining me today. Bye-bye.